Okay, let's talk about one of the most important buildings in the entire world, the Svalbard Global Seed Vault. Now, you might have heard it called the Doomsday Vault, but its real job is something much more, well, much more immediate. And trust me, its story is absolutely fascinating. So, to find this place, you have to go way, way up north. We're talking about the Norwegian island of Spitsbergen, super close to the North Pole, and deep inside a frozen mountain there. I mean, literally carved 120 meters into solid rock is this incredible fortress, and it was built to protect something really, really precious. So, what's it protecting? Seeds. And not just a few. We're talking about more than 1.35 million different kinds of seed samples. It's like a giant living library that holds thousands of years of farming history from all over the planet. But this place isn't just a museum. Its real job is to be the ultimate backup plan, an insurance policy for all the food on our planet. It acts as a safety backup for the other 1,700 or so seed banks that exist around the world. It really is the final safety net. So that brings up a pretty big question. Why do we even need a backup for our food? Well, it all comes down to one really important problem. The big issue is something called crop diversity. Basically, we're growing fewer and fewer different kinds of plants for food. And when we rely on just a few types, our whole food supply becomes pretty fragile. Think about it. If a new disease or a big drought comes along and wipes out one of our main crops, we'd be in serious trouble. That's why we need this library of different seeds to find other types that can handle those new threats. If you look at what's stored inside, you'll see things you'd expect, like rice and wheat. I mean, those feed billions of people. But look at this. A huge chunk is made up of things like millet and sorghum. And that's because these grains are super tough. They can grow in dry conditions, which makes them absolutely essential as we try to figure out how to keep growing food in a changing climate. Okay, so to protect all these seeds, the vault was designed to be this perfect, self-running fortress. The whole idea was built on something called passive safety. The mountain it's built in is naturally frozen solid all year round. That's what we call permafrost. So the thinking was, hey, even if all the electricity in the world went out forever, the mountain itself would just act like a giant natural freezer. It would keep the seeds safe, no power needed. Pretty smart, right? Now that permafrost keeps things naturally chilly at about -3 degrees Celsius. But to really keep the seeds safe for hundreds of years, they use powerful cooling systems to get the temperature way, way down to a perfect -18 degrees Celsius. So the fortress seemed pretty much perfect. But then it ran into a problem nobody saw coming. Back in 2016, something really strange happened. The weather in the Arctic got super warm, way warmer than usual. So instead of snow, they got heavy rain. And all that rain, plus melting ice, created a flood of water that started running down the mountain, heading straight for the vault's entrance. This quote from someone who worked there really paints a picture. All that water poured into the entrance tunnel and then it froze solid. She said it was like walking into a glacier. Now, it's super important to understand that the seeds themselves were never in any danger. They're stored much, much deeper inside the mountain. But this whole thing showed that the original passive safety idea had a pretty big flaw. So Norway responded with a huge upgrade. First, they built a brand new tunnel out of waterproof concrete. Then they moved everything that creates heat, like all the electrical equipment, into a totally separate building outside. They also dug big channels in the mountainside to guide any melting water away from the entrance. And get this, they even put cooling pipes into the ground to artificially freeze it and make it stronger. The vault wasn't so passive anymore. It now needed a whole active defense system. All right, so with all these new defenses in place, let's take a look at how the vault actually works. How seeds get put in, how they get taken out, and how that system was once put to the test. The whole reason countries all over the world trust this place is because of something called the black box system. It works just like a safety deposit box you'd get at a bank. Whoever puts the seeds inside, well, they're the only ones who own them, and they're the only ones who can ever take them out. Simple as that. The rules are really straightforward, but they're so important. First, the depositor is the one and only legal owner. Second, only that original depositor can ever ask for their seeds back. And third, Norway owns the building itself, but they don't own any of the seeds inside. It's this system that makes every country feel secure about storing their most precious seeds here. And this whole system was put to a real-life test. During the civil war in Syria, a very important seed bank near the city of Aleppo became impossible to get to. But because they had sent backup seeds to Svalbard, in 2015, the researchers were able to make the first withdrawal ever from the vault. They took those seeds, planted them in new, safe places, and grew more. And then, and this is the amazing part, they sent new seeds back to Svalbard to replace the ones they took. It proved that the system works, not just for some global apocalypse, but for real-world problems happening right now. This story really shows what makes Svalbard so different. You see, a lot of other big seed banks are all about research, but Svalbard has just one job, and one job only, to be the safest possible backup for all the food crops that we all depend on to survive. But even with this amazing system and all the new upgrades, the vault is now facing its toughest challenge yet, and it's a problem that goes right to the core of why it was built in the first place. And here's the really ironic part. The vault was built to protect our food from all sorts of threats, including climate change. But today, the biggest threat to the vault itself is climate change, happening right there in the Arctic. A recent report on the climate in Svalbard predicted that average temperatures there could go up by as much as 10 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. That is a huge, huge change for a place that's meant to stay frozen all the time. What that warming means is that the permafrost, the mountain's natural freezer, the original backup plan, might actually start to thaw. So we can't completely rely on it anymore. The vault now has to depend on its powerful, human-made cooling systems and defenses to keep those seeds safe. So in a way, the story of the Seed Vault has kind of come full circle. It started out as this fortress that would be protected by nature no matter what happened. But now it's become a symbol of our changing world, a fortress that we have to constantly protect from the very things it was designed to survive.